Hello and welcome to another Bestiary video. This time on small monsters in Monster Hunter Wilds. Throughout this, not only will we be experiencing hostile monsters, but even monsters that can help assist the hunter against their larger targets. And some that are just trying their best to live in this dangerous world. First up is one of my favorites, the Gajios. Do you think a Gajios is more similar to a crocodile or an alligator? I'll go over some of the details about this creature and then we can come to a conclusion on that point. Out here in the Windward Plains, you can often find the Gajios ambushing various other small monsters and then proceeding to feed on them. It's easy to miss animation if you aren't actively looking for it. One of the first things we can look towards is whether or not we are in freshwater or saltwater. There are some signs pointing to it being freshwater, such as the humanoid characters often going to these water sources, and never seen them have any sort of action to where they clean the water in any significant way. The other being that it is mostly rivers and a depleting stream that comes from the Scarlet Forest with many waterfalls. While none of this is concrete in indicating that it's fresh water, these are more commonly signs pointing to it possibly being fresh. This being said, crocs and gators are both very often found in fresh water. Not only do the Gajios appear in the Windward Plains, but they also will go upstream farther into the Scarlet Forest. Another indicator we can look at is based off of how the teeth are shown when a crocodile or alligator's mouth is closed. Gators most commonly have their lower teeth hidden when their mouth is closed, unlike a crocodile, in where you can see both rows. Another indicator of identifying is often by their colors. Crocodiles tend to have a more olive tan skin, while gators tend to be more grayish black. But the most strong indicator as to whether or not something is a crocodile or an alligator is by the shape of their snouts. And looking underneath one of these, you can see we have a more pointed snout instead of a rounded one. Overall, the signs seem to point more towards crocodile, but I'd say it's a lot more ambiguous and maybe intentional by design. Oh, Vespoids. A menace to old world hunters, but tends to now mostly serve more as a tool in the new world. In the older titles, these would often spawn indefinitely and very frequently. While that doesn't seem like much of an issue, back in the older games, they would actively seek out the hunter and harass them as much as possible. This could lead to all manner of incidents, as you might imagine. If there's a water source, you'll probably find Vespoids in that locale, which is reflective of real-world mosquitoes as well, as mosquitoes spend a large portion of their life cycle within water sources. Along with all these things, what they're most known for is their extremely potent paralytic toxins. So potent, in fact, that they can paralyze even large monsters. And in Wilds, the player can use this significantly to their advantage by taking Bright Moss and shooting it at a large monster to coax the Vespoids into stinging the large monster. Though it might be just easier to take their needles from them instead. And now we're going to take a look at Galadron, a fan favorite for sure, with their... I guess we're talking about Kranodaths instead. These are probably some of the coolest looking monsters in Monster Hunter Wilds, and that's saying something for a small monster. They have such an alien feel to their appearance, and it really captures that theming they were going for in Monster Hunter Wilds, with all these creatures that feel very out of this world. The Kranodaths will hunt the Galadrons in this locale almost to extinction if it was possible. And they do so by folding in their appendages and slamming down their head like a giant mallet. With this, if you look at their appendages on their head, they seem to have adapted some sort of ore to them to reinforce their strength likely. Not something you want to take lightly. Their name is also very fun, as it seems to be another pun, something Monster Hunter teams cannot resist, being a pun on cranium. You can sometimes also find them attacking large monsters. And speaking of small monsters taking on large prey, the Talioth are no stranger to that, and one that many a player has likely seen. The design of these is this beautiful silver and rusty scale pattern, and their jaw is a lot more distinct than it seems until you get a closer glance and see they have crossed tip mandibles. This is very similar to a real-life bird species called a crossbird. The crossbills use this crossed hooking design of their mandibles to help them extract seeds from conifer trees, which makes it seem like a strange choice for a Talioth, as these are carnivores that will very much go out of their way to hunt anything they can, including large monsters. There could be an argument for them using this to hook and tear onto large monsters easier, though I feel a normal aligned mouth would do this just as well. This, I feel, would have been a great contender for a pack leader in the form of a large monster bird warden to fight with them, as we didn't get any birdwarven leaders in this iteration of Monster Hunter. Now we're heading over to Kunafa village to take a look at the Dalthydon. The people of Kunafa have adapted the Dalthydons into cattle and use them for all sorts of manner, not only raising them in their own stock to later be eaten, but they also harvest milk from them to make their famous Kunafa cheese. That cheese doesn't seem too appealing now anymore, does it? With this, we get one of the few introductions of babies among small monsters. They are quite cute. They make as much use as they possibly can out of Dalthydons as well, even using them to carry carriages when they go out to harvest various resources for the village, such as fulgurites. With this, we also get to see some wild ones that move between the Windward Plains and the Scarlet Forest. Now, for the fastest little bird you've ever seen, even faster than the Wind Rustlers. The Porkeplume, named after likely a porcupine, is a small bipedal mammal that lives within the ruins of Wyveria of all places. It makes you wonder why they chose to live in such a hostile territory, and one that even in the past would have been very industrialized, not giving them much of a place to forage. Perhaps they had some sort of symbiotic relationship with the previous Wyverians who used to live here. When they are in danger, they will ram into threats, stabbing them with the bristles on their head in order to protect the pack. We could see this in many rodents as well, to have spines and quills that they use to protect themselves from predators, though they don't usually charge at their enemies with these. We can even see a few dinosaurs in the past who have had various designs that may have inspired the Porkeplume as well, such as the Psittacosaurus and the Tian Yulong. Another classic small monster, the Blango, which has been in quite a few old world Monster Hunter games as well. Here we can see them lounging around, being monkeys, as they do. They are fairly aggressive, but if you were to look at them compared to their old world counterpart, you might think they are the most passive baboons of all time. As in the old world, they would be so aggressive that if you didn't kill them when fighting Blanganga, you would usually be in for a rude awakening, as they would constantly pelt the player with snowballs and try to tackle them to the ground. And here, they tend to be more reserved. I assume this is to make it less difficult for the player to digest Blanganga, though I feel this does a disservice to the Blangas of the past. Like insects, because this next one is quite creepy. The Bulaqchi, and one of the first monsters the player will encounter. The Bulaqchi feed on various carrion by dissolving their corpses in liquids, much like you see with some flies in real life. After doing so, they will go to various wall faces and ceilings as a means to rest, which is why you often find them up on the ceilings. With their scavenger nature, you can also find them in a boneyard within the Windward Plains and various other shaded areas. They tend to not go out in the sunny areas very often. And if you are to slay a Bulaqchi, you will find them entering the iconic bug pose. There are many theories as to why bugs end up in this crawled, twitching position with their legs pointed inward. Some theories point towards a collective of ideas. It could be due to the simplicity of insects' leg structures and the stronger flexor muscles that cause their legs to pull inward as they enter their final state. Another theory points out that it could be results in a loss of hydration within their limbs that usually helps their legs from not contracting. Much like mosquitoes, they have very furry antennae. On top of this, also have additional sensory organs in their forelegs. In mosquitoes, these sensory organs are used as a means to help them locate various mates. And as a result, with all of this, you can get a unique interaction where you can stun the Bulaqchi with an echo pod. Though I can't imagine many situations where you would feel the need to do this. Now we're going to talk about Seikrets, starting with the Guardian Seikrets. It is interesting that these are the only fabricated small monsters that we interact with within the ruins of Wyveria, especially given that the Porkeplume are local residents currently. Here we can see them hatching from these eggs. You can disturb all these eggs, and this includes ones where you see large monsters inside them, which can give the player an advantage or a disadvantage, depending how the Guardian within is feeling. While a few Seikrets on their own do not seem very threatening, they will eventually call for reinforcements, leading to an entire army of Seikrets at your beckon. The Guardians are very territorial in behavior. Is this a result of selective breeding and training? As we never see the normal Seikrets be so combative, and instead simply serve as a means to transport the various people of Kunafa around the Windward Plains. And speaking of Kunafa Village, here we can see how the people of Kunafa take care of their Seikrets that they raise on their own, and even have eggs and little baby Seikrets. Be careful not to trip on the babies. This is not the first time we've seen a mount system in the Monster Hunter series, and will likely not be the last, as it seems this is going to be a mainstay of the series going forward. Hopefully we will see something just as creative as the Polyamutes and the Seikrets in the future. I did say there were going to be insects, and here they are, even more insects. And a little Omnicron sneaking in there. The Nerscylla Hatchlings are in very massive groups, and are aggressive at that. More aggressive than most of these small monsters in this game, which can be quite the threat when you are facing up against a fully grown Nerscylla, though their speed helps make them a little more manageable. Throughout the various locations within the Ice Shard Cliffs, you can find the Nerscylla hatchlings almost everywhere, even ones willing to ambush you from above, given the opportunity. These are one of the few small monsters that I will see people actively eliminate in order to make the fights with Nerscylla go a little smoother. And last, but certainly not least, is the Harpios, a intricately designed creature. If you look at their overall body is a hybrid between a bird and various types of swordfish. If you look at their head, you can see their dorsal fin has a pointed part to it, but that is in fact their horn, which they can fold inward and outward in order to help them dive and strike into various prey, spearing them when they dive for various fish. With this, you can also find them in the oil well basin, though I can't imagine there's much for them to eat there. So it's hard to really speculate as to why they come to this location. There is a water source somewhat deep within the oil well basin, but not the most ideal place for diving. Perhaps they eat the cup crabs in this location, though we never witnessed this. With this, you can also find them in more earthen grounds within various locations in the Scarlet Forest. Do they come here simply to rest away from the waters, or are they doing something else here? If you watch them, you can see that they start pecking at the ground, though this animation also plays out in the more water location. This could simply be the devs not wanting to turn off this animation for these locations, though given to how much detail they go into these various locations, I'd warrant it has some merit to it. My theories are that they could be scavenging for various insects to eat off the grounds, or maybe they are even looking for a digestive rock to find, which is something you can see very many species of birds do, which is called a gastrolith, or sometimes referred to as a stomach stone, where a creature will ingest a rock in order to use it as a means to help their digestion by grinding up anything that passes through their gastrointestinal tract. The range of creatures who have had gastroliths is large, ranging from birds to sea lions, crocodiles, even some dinosaurs back in the day. While not exhaustive of all the small monsters that we have looked at today, I encourage you to go out and seek your favorite small monster in your monster hunter of choice, as they tend to have a lot more going on than what first meets the eye as you fly by them for your hunt. And that will do it for another Monster Hunter Wilds Bestiary. Up here, another video. Down here, another video. Over here, subscribe. And if you do enjoy the variety content on my channel, please make sure to share it with as many people as you can. And thank you to my member. If you want to become a member, it's just a nice way that you can support me additionally. Bye bye!